Welcome to GamblingSites.org's NHL Playoff Preview. I'm Drew Goldfarb, and today we'll be breaking down the opening round of the NHL Playoffs. Stanley Cup Playoffs are always thrilling. It can be a great way to get some bang for your buck when it comes to sports betting. In fact, the very first bet that I ever placed in Las Vegas was on Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final. But we're not going to get into that right now because, bad memories. The opening round begins on Wednesday, and here are some notes to help you make your picks. The NHL's top team in the regular season gets going first, as the Tampa Bay Lightning take on the last team to clinch their spot in the postseason, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Lightning had one of the best regular seasons in NHL history, and they're pretty stacked, so it's no surprise to see them as the heavy favorites. Columbus, meanwhile, opted not to trade away two huge free agents to be at the deadline this year, even adding Matt Duchene to that list. So they're all in, but the Jackets have never won a playoff series in their nearly 20-year history as a franchise. The odds may not make a bet on Tampa worth it, but bet against the Bolts at your own risk. In the other Atlantic Division matchup, we've got a rivalry in round one. Boston taking on Toronto. Leafs enter the series as the underdog, though not by much. And with John Tavares, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and a solid supporting cast, they very well could find themselves moving on to round two. Boston, always a tough opponent, especially if goalie Tuukka Rask gets hot. Their top names may not be as sexy as Toronto's, but Brad Marchand's 100-point season was better than anyone on the Leafs in 2019. The Leafs have lost 4 consecutive playoff series and last advanced to round 2 way back in 2004. But there are 77 million reasons to think that that drought might come to an end in 2019. The top team in the Metropolitan Division in 2019 also happens to be the reigning defending Stanley Cup champions. The Washington Capitals begin their title defense against the bunch of jerks, the Carolina Hurricanes. Canes came on in the second half of the season to help bounce Montreal from their wildcard spot. Carolina's got a younger team, with their top 2 scorers being just 21 and 23 years old respectively. But Alex Ovechkin is still playing for the Caps and now has the monkey off his back with a Stanley Cup ring on his finger. The real difference in this series could be in net. Braden Holtby is the guy in Washington, while Carolina has gone for a 1-2 punch of Peter Mrazek and Curtis McElhinney. Does allow for the Hurricanes to go with the hot hand, but Holtby's ceiling likely to be much higher. After all, he allowed just 50 goals over 23 playoff games last year en route to the Cup. Carolina's money line, also one of the lower ones amongst the underdogs right now, so their payout wouldn't be nearly as good if they can pull the upset. The final Eastern Conference matchup might be the most intriguing for bettors. Pittsburgh Penguins are the lower seed, but the favorite in the sports books. New York Islanders lost their best player last summer and somehow got better in doing so, nearly unseating the Capitals as the Metro's top team. Pittsburgh had 4 players over 70 points this season, while the Islanders' points leader Matthew Barzal peaked at just 62. Like Carolina, the Islanders run a split in net, with Robin Lehner and Thomas Greiss sharing the workload. Pittsburgh's Matt Murray might be the bigger name, but he trails both Lehner and Greiss in goals against average and in save percentage. This series matches up the Islanders' defensive strengths with the Pens' powerful offense. Oh, and the teams split the regular season series, with each team winning once and losing once in both regulation and in overtime. This is one of those 2 series in round 1 where the higher seed enters as a betting underdog. Out west, the top team is Calgary. The Flames are the top seed in the conference and in the Pacific Division, yet take on the Colorado Avalanche in round 1. Neither team has had much success in recent years, with Calgary winning just 1 series since 2005, and the Avs, well, they've only won 2. The Flames won a dozen more games than Colorado this season and tied with San Jose to lead the Western Conference in goals for, but did so playing in the weaker division. Both teams have goalies with near straight splits this year in net. Both teams have 3 players under the age of 26 with 30-plus goals apiece, and yet the Flames are the heavy favorites on the betting line. The Avs enter the postseason with the second longest odds for round 1. If there's a top seed at risk in round 1, Calgary might just be the ones to watch. The other Pacific Division matchup, a 2018 rematch from round 2, as the San Jose Sharks face the Vegas Golden Knights. Sportsbetting.ag has these teams at -110 each, so take your pick. Vegas is finally healthy. Mark Stone provided a much-needed spark at the trade deadline. The Sharks, meanwhile, they got their spark over the summer. Erik Karlsson's 45 points in 53 games shows potential for a big postseason run for the boys in teal. That said, betting against this Vegas team has only ever worked out once so far in their short history, and that came in the 2018 Stanley Cup Final. With no betting favorite, this might be a better series to just sit back and watch to keep an eye on for round 2. The Central Division provides a lot of parity for this postseason. The 1 seed, Nashville, finished just 7 points ahead of the first wildcard team, the Dallas Stars. That said, the Stars have the worst goal differential of any team in this year's playoffs. With the Preds getting the home ice advantage, playing games 1, 2, 5, and 7 in the always raucous Bridgestone Arena, it's tough to see anyone but the Predators advancing from this series. They're the third biggest favorites in round 1 for a reason, but are they enough of a lock to make it worth a bet? Well, they very well could be. The final series of the opening round sees two nearly identical teams squaring off. The Blues and the Jets both finished with 99 points in the standings. They both lost exactly 34 games between regulation and overtime over the course of the regular season. And on top of that, they have nearly identical home-road splits. The difference? St. Louis enters the playoffs having won 8 of their last 10, while Winnipeg finished the year going 4, 5, and 1. That momentum has the Blues as the slight favorites despite being a lower seed. Blues head coach Craig Berube has only appeared in the postseason once as a head coach when his Philadelphia Flyers were bounced in round 1 back in 2014. Thanks so much for watching, and best of luck in round 1. Be sure to subscribe and keep checking out gamblingsites.org for more picks, tips, and how-to guides. I'm Drew Goldfarb, and I'll see you next time.